this is Jay Bose, and I welcome you to Volume 6 of the video newsletter series, The Dormant, Superhuman Inside. By now you understand a conceptual model of your amazingly wonderful mind, which entails your sixth sense. You are already empowered with a level of unique knowledge that separates you from the rest of the population who have not yet attracted such intellectual abundance in their life. Let us take this intellectual abundance to a completely new level and increase the database of patterns in the modern memory area of your mind. I will dedicate this volume to some discussions on science, specifically about the relational universe that you and I live in, and how your relation to the universe at any point in space and time holds the missing piece of the puzzle to your abundance and wealth that you are seeking from life. This is going to be very intense, as we will dive into the pages of complex scientific theories and emerge with a clear understanding of the workings of this relational universe. You will learn how you can begin to relate and resonate with the eternal song of the universe to attract, enjoy, retain, and again attract the abundance and wealth that you seek. Ready to take the plunge? Great, let's dive in. Let's take a tour of modern-day science to make you understand the science of attracting abundance that you are seeking in life. In the early 1900s, Ernest Rutherford's atomic theory indicated that the universe was made up of atoms. Within the atom, there was a positively charged nucleus that was composed of positively charged particles called protons, and around it orbited negatively charged particles called electrons. He likened it to our solar system, where the planets revolved around the sun. But there was a fundamental problem with the model. If this model were true, the negatively charged electron would soon spiral into the positively charged nucleus and get neutralized. If the atom got neutralized, then the universe would simply cease to exist, which we know is not true. So in Rutherford's mind, his initial theory had a gaping hole in it. Niels Bohr, in an attempt to expand on Rutherford's theory, stated that electrons couldn't rotate around the nucleus in just any orbit, but only in certain predefined orbits, like our solar system, with absolutely nothing existing in between those orbits. But this atomic or particular theory, with that unexplained nothingness in between the proposed predefined orbits, did not quite convince the scientific community, because at no point in time was it possible to predict where exactly that negatively charged particle or electron was. Erwin Schrödinger proposed that the electron was nothing but a wave that occupied all the space and time around the nucleus, thereby giving birth to the wave theory. However, you cannot see a wave, but the universe exists, and our sense of sight detects it, right? So which model do you think was right? Was matter made up of particles, or was it made up of waves? Werner Heisenberg wanted to take Bohr's atomic model and Schrödinger's wave theory further, and found that in order for the sense of sight to pick up the position of an electron, it would be necessary to have light reflecting off that electron. But the mere fact of that light shining on the electron would dislodge the electron from its position at any given time. This led to Heisenberg's famous uncertainty principle, which merged the atomic theory and the wave theory together, which recognized that the electron was indeed a particle, but it is impossible to measure its position and momentum at the same time. If you want to measure momentum of an electron, you cannot fix its position. If you want to detect the position of the electron, you cannot measure its momentum. There was an uncertainty in the picture. However, the probability of finding that electron that is in a constant state of motion and change is dependent on the wave. If you're already wondering what all of this classical and quantum physics has got to do with your self-development and abundance, bear with me please. The conclusion of the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle as we know today, and please pay attention to this, is that matter is composed of particles that your five senses can detect, and waves that your five senses cannot detect, but you know it is there. In other words, everything around you, all the abundance that you see and seek, has a physical dimension that your five senses can detect through the particular nature of the object, and also has a spiritual dimension that only your sixth sense can bring about through the wave nature of that object. Do you get it? Now let's dig a little deeper into this rather fascinating world of ours. With the Heisenberg uncertainty principle being the word of the day in the early 20th century, came a revolutionary proclamation from a part-time physics enthusiast and a full-time clerk working in a patent office in Bern, Switzerland, that changed the way we looked at our world today. This gentleman, by the name of Albert Einstein, presented to the world a concept where the physical matter that we see around us can be converted into energy at the speed of light. And here's the most important part. Energy can also be converted into mass, also at the speed of light. Hence the equation E equals mc squared, the cornerstone of Einstein's special theory of relativity. This is not a physics lecture for sure, and I am no scientist with the audacity to understand or explain what all this equation means. However, by using simple mathematics, if the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second, and we take it to the second power, even the smallest mass that you can think of can convert into an enormous amount of energy, an amount that is almost beyond common comprehension. In other words, if you look at this equation E equal to mc squared, everything, I repeat, everything is nothing but an enormous amount of energy, regardless of whether it is a particle or a wave. Again, in other words, everything, regardless of whether it is in the physical plane that your five senses can detect or in the spiritual plane that only your sixth sense can detect, is nothing but energy. It has been decades when the technology to track human thoughts in the spiritual plane has been in common use. I'm talking about the electroencephalograms or the EEG machines, which detect electrical signals, which, as you know, is energy, traversing the nervous system to, through, and from the brain into the muscular system, which represents the physical plane. Injured athletes were asked to think about their event after EEG probes were placed on their body, and curiously enough, the same muscles were activated as they would if the athlete was actually participating in the event. So if everything is energy, then why is it that we are all different and not just one gigantic wave of energy? Well, we really are. But the particular form of each one of us and the object that you and I are seeking in life is all different because they are all vibrating in different frequencies of energy. For example, two radio stations can be transmitting the same song, but you can distinguish between them by the difference of the radio frequencies that are using for the transmission.